Tonight on Eyewitness News at 6:30, WVU students walking out of class. Right now, many programs are on the chopping block as the university struggles financially. And one of the most important rooms in the entire state sits empty as renovations continue. More on what's coming to the state capitol.
And it's back to reality. It's August, it's still summer, and it's definitely feeling like it out there this week. We'll talk more about that coming up.
Eyewitness News at 6:30 on Fox 11 starts right now.
Good evening and thank you so much for joining us. Well, some West Virginia University students were angry over plans that would eliminate 9% of the university's majors and fire 7% of the faculty. They took their concerns to the street today. Eyewitness News reporter Bob Aaron tells us the loud but peaceful campus protests saw students push back as the university moves to cut $45 million in red ink.
Our entire life, we've been told we are the future. Today is the day we step up and lead the present. Thank you.
West Virginia University students staged a walkout Monday to protest a proposed elimination of academic programs and show support for the faculty and staff whose jobs are being targeted as the university struggles with a $45 million budget shortfall. Some 300 students took part in one rally outside the mountain lair. Organizers say they want to see an independent audit of its finances and reduce WVU's administrative spending, not the elimination of 9% of all majors and a 7% faculty cut. 434 students, 2% of the total enrollment, are impacted directly by the proposed cuts.
I was really angry. Puppetry is really an important art. It is pretty niche. But I'm tired of it being pushed to the wayside, and their continued attempts to cut this program will not work.
The university in a statement says it's been listening to students who have been telling us what they want through the majors and programs they are enrolling in, and importantly those they are not. And we are responding. That data factors heavily into the preliminary recommendations, and it's why we focused on areas that would affect the fewest possible number of students, less than 2%. Those on the chopping block include the Department of World Languages, Literature, and Linguistics. The student population at West Virginia University has dropped 10% since 2015. While the apparent cuts directly impact only about 2% of the student body and about 7% of the faculty, it appears concern about them goes beyond those numbers. Still, hundreds of students walked by the demonstrations Monday. In Morgantown, Bob Aaron, Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Bob. And protesters say they'll be back September 15th when the university's Board of Governors is expected to vote on the proposed cuts. But this whole situation has caught a lot of people's attention, including on social media. So let's check out what some are saying. This person, Katie J. Wells, my dad is a WVU graduate. My dear uncle, Norman Last, taught at WVU for 49 years. What a disgrace these cuts are to the notion of public education. Please join the walkout. This person posting this photo right there, it looks like there's a lot of protesters. She says, WVU mistake, stop the cuts. This person says, love and solidarity with all you Mountaineers walking out in protest at WV today. And let's get a look at one more. This person, WVU today, don't forget the student walkout. We're going to send things over to Doug for a look at the forecast. Doug?
Thank you, Gina. Well, the heat is back. Yeah, those days of 75-degree high temperatures and very dry air are gone for the time being. They'll come back, certainly, maybe as early as this weekend. But today, we saw a rare 90-degree day in August, at least for this year. I mean, first 90-degree day officially in Charleston, Huntington since August 5th. Only our second of the month. And we've had more days with high temperatures in the 70s, 3, than we've had in the 90s thus far. But yeah, we are at 90 Charleston, 91 in Huntington, and the biggest thing about today was the higher humidity. So it feels like mid-upper 90s. We didn't have that yesterday when it was close to 90. We have the humidity today. The good news is there's a front coming in from the north, so that's going to knock the dew points down over the next 24 hours. We're in the orange zone here today. Tomorrow at this time, green and yellow, so that's better for sure. This front's going to help us out and kind of ease the heat and humidity slightly. Now, it's not going to be fall-like tomorrow, but it will be better. But tonight, it's very warm and muggy. We'll still be well in the 70s through midnight, down to about 70 with some low clouds tomorrow morning. Maybe a sprinkle out of that cloud deck as that front pushes through, and then we'll clear things back out. Unfortunately, the worst of the heat and humidity is coming for late this week. We'll talk more about that in your 70 forecast in just a bit.
Thank you, Doug. Well, the Kanawha County Sheriff's Office is looking for a missing teenager and asking for your help to find him. This is 15-year-old Nehemiah James. He's described as being 6'2" and with black hair and brown eyes. Deputies say he went missing from his bedroom back on August 8th, but then 10 days later, he showed up for his first day of school at Capitol High School. He then disappeared again before his family had a chance to contact him. Nehemiah's family believes he could be in eastern Kanawha County between the areas of Rand and Montgomery. Nehemiah is not believed to be in danger, but if you see him, you're asked to call the Kanawha County Sheriff's Office. That number is right there on your screen. We have new details involving the Nicholas County Board of Education and FEMA. Now, for weeks, we've been covering the discussion of a budgetary shortfall, and now FEMA has responded to the school's proposals. The board released information to us last week that FEMA has given them the green light on their school proposals. Now, last month, the Nicholas County Board of Education voted to reject the initial bid it had received from the FEMA and returned with 3 potential offers. The Board of Education is set to discuss those proposals at the board meeting tonight. It started at 6 o'clock. Now, the 3 proposals for the property include a pre-K to 8th grade school. The second proposal is a pre-K to 5th grade school and a 6th to 8th grade school. And the third proposal is a high school and middle school. Now, we spoke to Nicholas County Superintendent Terrence Beam last week, who told us this meeting will give the board the chance to go back and forth about which proposals they believe will be best for the county. He also says the #1 goal is the students and getting this done as quickly as possible. Reporter Hannah Klein is at the meeting right now and will have more details for us tonight at 10 and 11. Well, the House chamber at the state capitol is undergoing a major renovation project to upgrade the technology, furniture, and flooring. This is a $2.3 million renovation project for the House chamber that is already underway as crews have a tight deadline to get it all done. The project started right after the most recent special session. The renovation includes a new paint job, new carpeting, new chairs, refinished desks, and new sound and data technology. House Clerk Steve Harrison says this project is past due and that this fall created the perfect timing in between sessions.
We have been talking about this for several years because anyone who's been in the chamber can see it's deteriorating, there's peeling, especially up in the arches, and there has not been a full renovation of the House chamber since 1995.
A.J. Vader and Company, who renovated the chamber in the 90s, is the same company that's doing this renovation. The funding comes from the state budget and also saved funds from previous years for capital improvements. The renovations are expected to be finished December 1st. Speeding continues to be an issue through the construction zone on Interstate 64 in Cabell County. Written into the contract as part of the cost for the interstate construction project is money to pay officers for increased patrols in the area. From October of last year to July of this year, Barboursville police have written more than 2,300 speeding tickets. They say the number would be more if they did not have regular patrols of the area. They say some drivers were clocking at driving faster than 80 miles per hour.
Cars, when we went up there, was traveling average in the 70-mile-an-hour range. Most cars are in the 55 to 60-mile-an-hour range, which is still speeding, but it is a reduction.
Jividen says as long as there is construction along I-64, the extra patrols will continue at a variety of different days and times.
Well, a little bit of that smoke coming back into play. It's slightly hazy out there now, probably a bit more hazy this time tomorrow. But that is because we're seeing a wind shift coming from the north tomorrow behind a front. And every time we see a north flow, we tend to get a little bit of that smoke. But that also means a drop in humidity. So I think actually Tuesday and early Wednesday, if you want to do some yard work, that's going to be the most comfortable time this week because it's going to get very hot and very muggy by the end of the week. Now, how hot and muggy depends on storm chances. We'll probably start seeing some of those coming in from the north and west. Good news is timing is very beneficial for our weekend. A front coming through will drop the temperature and the humidity. And outside of a stray shower or thunderstorm Saturday, I think it's plenty dry. We'll talk more about that coming up.
Thank you, Doug. We take a look at updated poll numbers in the GOP presidential race and why some believe Donald Trump might get the nomination. That's next. We're taking a live look at the Fulton County Courthouse, where a grand jury officially indicted Donald Trump on election fraud charges for allegedly trying to overturn the 2020 election. Today, his bond was set at $200,000. He's expected to turn himself in at the courthouse very soon in the coming days. But one place he won't be showing up, the debate stage in Milwaukee, where Republicans will square off for the first time in the race. Scott Thuman shows us why and what's at stake.
For the last 8 years of presidential races, the debate stage spotlight was often dominated by Donald Trump's presence, but not this week, as he's vowed to skip Milwaukee.
And I think everyone should debate. If you qualify, I think you owe it to the people to put out your vision, to talk about your record.
Why the no-show? Perhaps because despite expectations Trump will turn himself in this week for a fourth arrest, he is seeing staggering poll results. A more than 2-to-1 lead over Governor Ron DeSantis, his closest rival in Iowa and the first state to vote, and crucial overwhelming devotion among supporters. 71% of those who plan to vote Trump feel what he tells them is true more than they believe family and friends, conservative media, or even religious leaders.
Do not fear. We will win bigger and better than ever before.
Yet there is a growing contingent of Republicans who are hardly enthralled with the potential repeat of Trump versus Biden, and they're pushing a narrative that Trump could win the primaries, but then could also cost the GOP the White House.
I think Joe Biden needs to be replaced, but I don't think Americans will vote for someone who's been convicted. He will lose to Joe Biden if you look at the current polls.
So more chatter about a potential third-party run, ranging from West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin to Maryland's former governor Larry Hogan.
I think we're at a point that we've never been in this country, where 2/3 of the people are not interested in voting for the Republican or Democratic nominee, the likely nominees. You know, if most of the voters don't want A or B, we have an obligation to give them C.
But others worry it'll backfire, pointing to 2016, arguing Hillary Clinton would have beat Trump if critical votes didn't instead go to Libertarian and Green Party candidates. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
Well, the Atlantic is heating up with tropical activity. We've got several systems, some named, some not. One in the Gulf of Mexico looks like it'll move into Texas here by tomorrow. Going to bring a lot of rain down there. Not going to impact us at all. And in fact, all the systems out in the Atlantic and the Caribbean will likely stay out to sea. The one notable one, Franklin down there in the Caribbean, could come close enough to the east coast to bring some rip currents by next week at the beaches. So that's something we'll be following. But right now, heat's the big story across the central U.S. We're getting a taste of it now. We'll get even worse of it, I think, by the end of this week. And we'll talk more about that coming up. Well, yeah, rarity, 90 degrees. Haven't seen too many of those numbers here in the month of August. Really not too many times this summer overall. We've kind of kept the excessive heat in check. We're going to try and do that this week, but I think we may run out of luck by the end of this week. Storms might be what helps us out, but then we got to deal with storms. It's 90 in Charleston right now, 91 in Huntington, but, you know, it feels a lot hotter because of the humidity. The temperature change compared to yesterday is not that great. We maxed out at 89 yesterday. But the dew points are up good 5-10 degrees. That's a substantial increase over the last 24 hours. Still, it could be worse. It is worse off to our west. Look at St. Louis. It feels like 112 right now. It feels like 116 in Kansas City. I saw a heat index earlier of 120 there. That is some nasty stuff. Now, fortunately, at least for the time being, this front coming through tonight is going to actually back our temperatures off slightly, along with the humidity. So upper 80s tomorrow. I mean, it's still toasty, but it's better. And then Wednesday's probably similar to today. Temps will max out near 90. Heat index maybe 92, 93. But Thursday, Friday, if it's dry all day, we could see a heat index between 100 to 105 in the valley spots easily. If it's dry. Now, that's the $1 million question here. We'll get into that in just a bit. It is dry tonight. We'll pick up some low clouds late ahead of that front. Maybe a couple sprinkles out of this deck tomorrow morning. If you're driving into work or school, you might see a couple drops on your windshield. That's about the extent of it. We'll start off at a muggy 70 degrees tomorrow morning. But note the wind shift into the north. That brings some of that Canadian smoke back into play, so it's a bit hazy in the afternoon. But we'll hold temperatures below 90 for most locations for tomorrow with that northerly flow and that drop in humidity. So all things considered, it's not bad. It's not going to feel as comfortable as it did last week, but it could be worse. Wednesday, we'll start off pretty comfortable in the morning. Afternoon, we'll get hot. We'll be up near 90. And we may even see a shower or storm, especially in the northeastern part of West Virginia, late in the day on Wednesday. And that's the beginning of this, what we call ring of fire setup, where the heat ridge is to our west, centered there, and we're kind of right on the cusp of it. And you oftentimes see these storm clusters form up around the Great Lakes, the Midwest, and then they drop southeast. And I think we could see a couple of these. Forecast models are having a tough time kind of resolving it. They're forming those storm clusters, and then they say they just kind of fall apart before they get here. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you have this kind of humidity. So hot, but also potentially stormy at times Thursday into Friday. Fortunately, the front will clear us Saturday morning, and we'll calm things down. And especially Sunday looks great. Kind of feels like last week with highs closer to 80 and low humidity.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Hillary dumped up to 8 inches of rain on Mount Charleston, west of Las Vegas, washing out roads and leading to a boil water order. As the rain curtain started to move away, a brilliant rainbow appeared over the mountains. The ducks and the people of southeast Texas could certainly use some of that water. Rainfall in Beaumont is almost 10 inches below average for this time of year.
Want to see your weather photos and videos on TV? Click Chime In on this station's website to share.
Well, today, more than 90 golfers got to tee up for a good cause. The Hospice of Huntington had its 21st annual Heating Up the Greens Golf Scramble at the Guyan Golf and Country Club. Now, golfers from around the region came to play a round of 18 holes and raise money for end-of-life care. This is all meant to allow them to care for patients regardless of ability to pay.
We can provide grief support, counseling, and that type of thing free of charge. And so that's one of the ways we use the funds to help us provide services to the community.
And if you weren't able to make it to the tournament, you can always support the hospice by donating on their website at hospiceofhuntington.org. Singer-songwriter Lana Del Rey is hitting the road for a limited tour this fall, and she's making a stop right here in Charleston. Live Nation made the announcement today. She'll be performing 10 shows across the country, and Charleston will be the last stop in her tour. The show will be on Thursday, October 5th at the Charleston Coliseum and Convention Center. Tickets will be available during the general on sale. This is all starting this Friday, August 25th at 10 a.m. at livenation.com. Del Rey's 9th studio album, Did You Know That There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard, was released in March. Well, single game tickets for the Backyard Brawl have officially sold out. This marks one of the fastest single game sellouts in program history. This is the first time the Backyard Brawl has been played in Morgantown since 2011. You can still buy tickets through purchasing season tickets and the mini game pack. And we'll have a final look at your forecast. That's next.
right, quiet, very muggy tonight. Temps will be falling back into the upper 60s, lower 70s. Muggy starts tomorrow with some low clouds. Those will burn off, though, and a drop in humidity for the afternoon. 87, still hot. Average high is 85, so we're going to be above that all through the rest of the week. But tomorrow, compared to today, a little bit more tolerable. Wednesday's okay. Maybe a late-day thunderstorm to keep an eye on. And then very hot, very muggy Thursday, Friday, although any storm chances obviously could turn 93 into 73 very quickly. So
Wow.
we'll see about that.
Okay, well, stay tuned for that. Thank you, Doug. Eyewitness News continues at 10 o'clock right here on Fox 11, and we're back over on WCHS at 11. Have a great night.